Hi everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel. This is my channel where I share everything to do with living a handmade, homegrown and slow life. So today's video is going to be my spring makes video. So it's normally knitting and sewing, so everything that I'm planning to sew in the spring and everything I'm planning to knit in the spring. But today I have got a few other little crafts that I'm adding in to the next season, so I hope you guys will enjoy seeing those. As you can see, I've got a big pile of stuff behind me. Everything that I am showing you today is from stash, because that's one of my big things in 2025, is to try my best to use up what I've already got or see if I can sort of add to what I've got to use it up and yeah, try and be a bit more with it when it comes to using what I've already got in my stash. I should probably just mention that I have got a bright green hand because I have a repetitive strain injury on that wrist. It hasn't flared up for literally years, and normally when it does I would pop a wrist brace on, but because it hasn't flared up for years I have literally no idea where that wrist brace has gone. So for the time being I've strapped it up and we're going to go and get one later today. So apologies for this very strange situation. But yeah, so I'll try just to use my left hand and not my right hand. So yeah, let's start off with knitting, shall we? So as I say, I'm using things from stash, so let me just pull them round a bit. So the first thing that I really want to make is I've decided that it would be really useful to have a couple of slipovers in my wardrobe for spring and autumn, because I always wear dresses. As you can see, this is a bit of a sneak peek actually of one of the dresses that will be in a video in a couple of weeks time for my winter makes. But I'm always wearing dresses, and as it starts to get a bit warmer, you don't need those big woolly hand knit jumpers or big woolly hand knit cardigans quite as much, but you still need something to keep you warm. And so I think slipovers look so pretty over the top of dresses and are a really, really great way of keeping you cozy. I also think as well that, I mean, last year I remember it being something like 13 degrees in June. So in England, we don't exactly get boiling hot weather. So they probably get quite a lot of wear, I would think, slipovers throughout the year. So actually quite a useful thing to have. I also think as well you could layer them up, so you could put a slipover on and a cardigan on to be extra warm in the winter. So I just think that'd be a really good thing to add to my wardrobe. And I also thought it'd be a great way to use up the smaller quantities of yarn that I have in my stash. So something that I have is a few balls of this brushed alpaca silk. Now I have seen quite a lot of petite knits holiday slipover, which is knit with 2 strands of wool and then it's held together with a mohair. And I wondered if I could use the alpaca silk with 2 strands of something else. And so I did my research on Instagram and I saw that a few people had made the holiday slipover with 2 strands of drops air and a strand of kid silk. Now this is the brushed alpaca silk, which I do find is just a little bit, although it is a lace weight, it's sometimes a little bit more bulky than the kid silk. So we'll see if I can get gauge. I might have to fiddle around a bit, but basically I've ordered some drops air in this lovely off-white colour, and then I'm going to use the alpaca brush silk and hold that together with 2 strands of drops air. And I just think that's going to be such a nice, easy project. It's all stocking net stitch. It's chunky needles, which I never normally work with anything over about like 5 or 6. And I think this is on needle size 10 for the body. So I do think that it's going to be such a quick project. It's going to be one of those projects that's like really satisfying because it's just like and then you're done. But it's going to use up this alpaca that I've had in stash. I made a cardigan out of this brushed alpaca silk a little while ago, and that worked really, really well. So yeah, I just have a little bit left over that I want to use up. I think I've got like 4 or 5 skeins of it. So I think I may even have slightly more than I need for the slipover. But yeah, hopefully I'll be able to get gauge. I haven't got the drops air to show you now. It's on the way. It's been ordered, but it's not arrived yet. So that's the first knitting project. Now the second knitting project is again another slip over and using yarn that I have in stash. So this yarn is a beige, it's merino 120 from Lang Yarns, and I knit this years and years and years ago, funnily enough, into a slip over, but I didn't quite get my sizing right, my gauge right, because I'm still a very new knitter. And then it also got pulled, and I couldn't like get it back in to look okay, which was a bit frustrating. So yeah, it just ended up just sitting around, and I thought, oh, I'll frog it, because this was a few years ago. I'll frog it because it's not getting any wear. So I have decided to finally get around to using this up. And yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the Lang Merino because it's a superwash merino and it stretches terribly when it is blocked. But if you hold it with a mohair, people say that that happens a lot less. So I have found a pattern. It's the Belladonna Slipover by Alongavec Anna, which is knit in their superwash merino held with a mohair. And I thought that was really worth trying. So again, I have ordered from Drops. I've ordered some of their Kid Silk mohair in light beige to go with this, because I also want to lighten it up slightly. This is a lovely colour, but I just want to lighten it up a little bit. So I ordered the light beige rather than the beige, and I'm hoping that will give a really nice colour. And it's knit, I think, on an Aran weight gauge. So you have the DK with the Kid Silk mohair, and it will result in a bit of an Aran weight. So it's done, I think, on 5mm needles. It's a fisherman's rib, brioche, is it brioche or fisherman's rib? One of the two, slip over. And I just think it's going to be lovely. I mean, it's going to obviously look so nice with this dress. You can see it's the right colour for this dress. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that, and that should use up this, because this, I've got a stash quantity for a slip over in my stash. So I think that actually that is going to be the perfect use of this. So those are the two slipovers that I'm hoping to work on over the spring. And then I have 5 skeins of this Drops Lima. Lima is one of my favourite yarns that I've used from Drops. It's a wool and alpaca mix, and I'm a big fan of wool and alpaca mix. I've got lots of cardigans and jumpers in them. I've made 2 jumpers for my husband in alpaca wool mixes from different brands, and it just works so well. And I've got it in this lovely sagey green colour. Now last year I knit myself the April cardigan by Petite Knit, and although I really love the cardigan and it's really pretty, it's got lovely buttons on it that I had in stash, unfortunately it doesn't really fit properly. It's very tight around the armpits. I'm not quite sure what happened there, but basically the armpit shaping didn't seem to go quite right. I've never had that problem with a Petite Knit pattern before, so I don't know if I just didn't follow the instructions quite right. I really don't know what happened, but it doesn't fit and I don't wear it. So sadly, as painful as it is, I am going to frog it. And I think that that's the best thing to do, rather than just having it languish and sit in my wardrobe for years and years and years until I eventually decide to frog it. I'm just going to frog it now, even though I only knitted it less than a year ago. And I'm going to make something else with it. And I have decided that I would really like to make the Rosary jumper by Rosary Apparel. I have made this jumper twice before actually, in an acrylic yarn. When I was at the beginning of my knitting journey, I made it in a lovely rusty orange colour, and that gets a huge amount of wear. It's a really lovely pattern. Janelle offers it for free, I think, if you sign up to her newsletter on her website. And I think it's originally a vintage pattern from like the 1970s. I knitted up a blue and cream version last summer, which I wore to a vintage event. I made it with short sleeves so that it looked very much like a vintage Victory jumper. And I just find that pattern is really lovely to follow. Very easy, very simple, really enjoyable. So it's knit in pieces and sewn up, which I sometimes quite enjoy doing, because I feel like you get that kind of separation where you can do, like, I'll do the back and then I'll do something else and then I'll do the front. And I quite like doing that because I am a bit of a mono knitter. I tend to work on one project at a time. But it's quite nice sometimes with the bigger projects to do like one section at a time. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do with this lovely Drops Lima. And I think that's going to go so nicely like with this dress and lots of my other dresses, my spring dresses in my wardrobe. So yeah, at some point I will be casting that on. Okay, so I have also, if you watched my winter makes plans video, you might remember I said that I was hoping to start knitting the Sweet Shop blanket by my friend Laura Penrose. I have done that. So this is where I am up to. I'll hopefully get some better shots for you guys so you can properly see. But basically I have knit 24 squares so far, which is the baby blanket size, but I would like to do 48 squares, which is the adult lap size. And I have enough yarn to do that because I have you use about half a mini skein. So I'm using an advent calendar that I got in 2023 as a knitting advent calendar, a yarn advent calendar. And you use about half of each skein for the coloured sections. So your advent calendar is perfect for making a 48 square adult lap size blanket. So I've done, as I say, half. I've done 24 and I'm really pleased with how it's looking. I think it's so pretty. I love this colour palette. I'm so pleased with how it's come out. I also, all of the white is an off-white alpaca wool yarn from Rowan, which again was from Stash. So it's using up lots of Stash, which is making me very pleased. I'm hoping to get to the end of this year with a very empty fabric and yarn stash. But I needed a little break because as much as I was enjoying it and it was just the most gorgeous, relaxing project for the sort of end of January and most of February, I'm now thinking that I will get a bit fed up and bored with it. So I'm going to pop it away for a little while, work on some other projects and then come back to it. So it is one of my spring projects to finish up this blanket before the summer, to come back and do another 24 squares and get that done, but probably that'll be a bit later on, perhaps maybe in April after I have, as I say, knitted up a few of the other things. And then one more thing to mention is just that I have a lot of sock yarn in my stash. I'm not going to show it to you because there is quite a lot. And so I will probably make a pair of socks, at least one pair, maybe two pairs, especially the self-patterning yarn and things like that. I often knit socks whilst I'm at church. So I have my like church socks that I take with me every week to work on during the sermon. So I will definitely be making some socks, but you know, it'll be sort of like, oh, what do I fancy making? I'm not really sure. I've got 52 weeks of socks, the pattern book from Liner Publishing, which I will sort of make my way through. I've made one pair out of that book so far. I might go through in order. So yeah, there will be some socks as well, I think, on the needles during spring, but nothing specific yet. Okay, shall we move on to sewing? So I've got my fabrics here. Again, all from Stash. So this fabric is actually a scrap fabric. I made a lovely strawberry print blouse back in 2023, which always gets a lot of wear in the spring. It looks great with dungarees. It's in this lovely viscose linen mix from Fabric Godmother. I think she brought this fabric out again last year in like this colorway and some other colorways. She may bring it out again this year because I know it's been one of her most popular prints and fabrics. It is just stunning. I absolutely love it. I just think it's such a sweet, gorgeous fabric, but I have got quite a good chunk of it left after I made the Anthea blouse in 2023, and I think this would make the most beautiful project bag. I don't actually have very many project bags, and it's quite helpful when you're like I say, taking a pause from my blanket, I need to pop it away in a project bag, or you know, I normally always have like one sock on the go as well as a main project on the go and things like that. So I just think it would be really helpful to have a few more project bags. Now, Rosie Caldwell, who I have made her wash bags quite a few times, and I've shared that on the channel a couple of times as well actually. Rosie Caldwell is bringing out a sort of project bag pattern. I'm not sure when. She said quite soon, so possibly by the end of February or beginning of March. And I just think it would be perfect. It's a lovely drawstring bag with a lining and pockets inside, and I just think that would work really, really well. So I think this will go on the outside. Yeah, so this will go on the outside, and if I think this should be plenty enough to do it. This will be the inside, this will be the lining. So this is leftover. Again, it's from Fabric Godmother. I made a Mabel dress with this back in 2023. So I think the two things together will just make a really sweet, like spring summery project bag. And I think that's quite nice. I've realized this, that I quite enjoy doing this, like swapping out my stitch markers for seasonal stitch markers and swapping out my bags for seasonal bags. It's just like a fun thing to do with all of my sort of knitting projects. So yeah, that is the plan with the first chunk of fabric. Next, we have this really beautiful, beautiful fabric, which you might remember if you've been following me for a while. I bought this at the Stitch Festival last March. This was from Sister Mintaka. It is 4 meters of viscose linen mix in this beautiful eucalyptus green color. And I was too scared to cut into this last year, and I didn't make anything with it because I was really frightened, because it's one of the most expensive fabrics I've ever bought, and it's just so beautiful. But this is the year I really need to cut out something with this. I've been really drawn to the Juliet pattern by Silver Saga. So Silver Saga sewing pattern, the company, they have got the Juliet dress, which is a beautiful, beautiful, like full cottagecore style dress, absolutely stunning. But the only problem is it uses huge amounts of fabric, so I don't actually have enough. Now, Sister Mintaka does still have this fabric on her website, so I could purchase a few more meters, but I need to sort of have a think, because it's not the lightest fabric, it's quite heavy. So if this dress is going to be this really big voluminous gathered dress, is it best to make it in this quite heavy linen? I'm not really sure. My other thought though is that I could make an Anthea blouse but as a dress. So I've done that a couple of times. I'm a big fan of the Anthea blouse pattern by Anna Allen Clothing, and I've made the pattern into a dress. So I think that could work really well, because I basically want something that's like sort of button up the front with big puff sleeves. That's what I'm going for. So I need to sort of have a think about what I'm going to do with that. I haven't really made a decision, but I will definitely be making something with this beautiful linen in the spring time. Okay, more strawberry print fabric. So this is also leftovers. I made a lovely Mabel dress with this strawberry print fabric back in 2023, I think it was. Yeah, I think it was spring 2023. I wear that all the time. It'll be coming out very soon. I'm sure it'll be coming out in March, especially if I've got a lovely slip over to go over the top and keep me warm. So yeah, I'm a really big fan of this fabric. It's just stunning and I just feel amazing in it. And I had quite a bit left over, but not like, it was enough to make a blouse, but it wasn't enough to make a dress or what I wanted to do, which was make some pajamas. And so when they put it on sale in 2023, I think there was a big sale, and then also I was able to use a discount code from Brogan, who was a fabric ambassador with them at the time, Brogan from the Crafty Pie. So I purchased another few meters of this. So I've got lots of like scrappy bits and a few meters, and I'm basically wanting to pull together a really cute pair of pajamas. And I think what would be really fun for this would actually be to do the Nell dress by Tilly and the Buttons, sorry, the Nell blouse by Tilly and the Buttons, with all of the little bow ties up the front and the puff sleeves, and to make the blouse as a pajama top and then just make some simple pajama bottoms. I think I've got some different patterns that are just very simple elasticated waist pajama bottoms, perhaps the Everyday Trousers by New Craft House, which I've used before to make pajamas with. And I just think that would be the sweetest pair of spring summer pajamas. It would have little bows down it, little puff sleeves, and it would just be really cute. So again, it'll be using up lots of stash, and I just think they'll be so sweet. I know my friend Holly Dennett made some William Morris print pajamas not long ago, I think like a couple of weeks ago, and she's like, these pajamas are really lovely, but also like, could I just wear them out? So I wonder if that will happen, where the blouse, I'll be like, oh, I could just wear this blouse, I could just wear this as like a summer co-ord, because obviously like pajamas as outerwear is a bit of a thing and has been for the last few years. So who knows what will happen there, but I just think that could be really, really cute. Okay, so I then have this fabric. This is the very last fabric I have to show you. Now I'm just going to show you the pillowcase actually. This is a duvet that I thrifted last spring, and I think I showed you guys, who've been watching my channel for a while, you might remember it was in, I think, like a fabric haul or something last year. But basically it's a single duvet and pillowcase, but it's double-sided. So you've got this slightly textured, almost seersucker type stripe on one side, and then you've got a completely plain pink and white stripe cotton on the other side. And I wondered if it would be fun to try and mix these up. I don't think I have enough fabric with it being a single duvet not to mix them up if I'm making a dress. So I'm sort of thinking it would be fun to make some kind of dress where like the sleeves are one stripe and the bodice is the other stripe, and then you do like a tiered skirt with the different stripes. That's my sort of thoughts with it, but I haven't come up with a pattern yet. So let me know if you guys know of a pattern that would work really well for that. I think maybe something that's like a V-neck and like a crossover. I really like the McCall's one. I think it's like the 6-7 something or other. That pattern I thought would be a really good option for this, and just like a simple blousey lovely cotton dress. It'll probably be worn more towards the end of spring when it's warming up, although I might layer it up underneath with a slip or something. But yeah, that's my sort of plan with that fabric. So I would love to hear your ideas for patterns, because I'm not really sure yet what to do with all of that. Okay, so now we're going to move on to some other crafts. So one thing I've been really wanting to do is learn to quilt. And I've spoken about this a few times on my channel, and I just never get round to it. And this is why I really want to use up stash, because it's encouraging me to use up what I've got. And a lot of what I've got is actually scraps to be making quilts with, or scrappy projects or whatever. So I'm trying to sort of push myself to get round to that. So I have saved a whole bag of scraps, which are all the same kind of colours. So pink, blue, grey, greyish, you know, all that kind of colours. Which I think will go really nicely with our bedroom decor. And I'd really love to make a quilt to go on our bed. So one of my things that I really want to do in spring is simply to make a quilt block. I'm not going to give myself the task of making an entire quilt, because I wouldn't be surprised if this is something that I'm like sewing slowly over the year, because I've set myself the task of making a quilt a few times and I've just never got round to it. So I just want to set myself the task of making one quilt block. And my hope is that once I've made one, I will go, great, I can make another one and another one and another one, and I can sort of fit them in between other sewing projects so that I don't get fed up or bored with it. So that is what I've done. I'm going to set myself the task of that. So that is another sort of sewing project, but not really, because quilting is obviously quite different to dressmaking. And then again, with the same sort of theme, I have got a few embroidery projects. So if you've watched my winter vlog a few weeks ago, you might remember this cross stitch which I spoke about, which I have been working on. So I've got quite far with it and I'm quite pleased. We're getting close to finishing it now, which is really great. But that will be another thing that I'm taking into spring to work on and to finish. I have actually taken a little pause from this one because I am now working on another embroidery project. It does not look great on here, but I'm now working on another embroidery project because I wanted to make something for my mum for Mother's Day. She doesn't normally watch my videos, so I hope she's not watching this. So this is the picture of the embroidery. I'll hopefully get a better shot for you guys so you can see what I'm talking about. But it's just a really lovely spring embroidery, yellows, blues, pinks, the kind of like flowers that my mum likes. And I'm not gonna lie, I've only worked on this for like a couple of hours so far and I've already got quite a lot done, and I forget how much quicker embroidery is than cross stitch, because cross stitch a lot of the time you're having to check especially with this one that I'm working on, you're having to check every single square because the colours change. You know, there's not like, oh, just do a block here in this colour. So I find embroidery to be a lot quicker and a bit more enjoyable, to be honest. So I'm taking a pause from Beatrix Potter whilst I work on that. Mother's Day in the UK is at the end of March, so I'm basically going to spend March working on that embroidery so that it's ready to give to my mum. And then I'll come back to Beatrix Potter. And then I have also very kindly been gifted by the team at Kado this lovely embroidery. Again, I'll hopefully get some better shots for you guys so that you can see the picture of the embroidery. But it's just, again, another very simple floral embroidery that I think will be really lovely to make to put into our new home when we finally move into it. So yeah, I've got 3 different cross stitch / embroidery projects to be working on over the spring. I'll probably be doing like 1 a month, March, April, May. And yeah, I'm really actually enjoying that. Like I often in the afternoons, I might like pop an audiobook on for an hour and just sit and do some embroidery or some cross stitch. And I find it really relaxing and it really slows you down. And it's just nice to add that in. And then I do my knitting in the evening instead. So yeah, I'm really enjoying working on those and learning a new skill. I may even at some point try English paper piece in quilting, because that's like obviously all done by hand and sitting there, the same kind of thing, a lot of hand stitching once this hand is better. I'm just really enjoying all of that. So yes, those are all of my plans for spring. I'm trying to be really realistic and not set myself stupid goals because it's just really unhelpful and it causes me a lot of stress. I'm trying not to buy anything unless I need to buy something to go with something I already have to make it, which is working really, really well for me. I'm like, it's so satisfying to use up the stash. It's so satisfying to make things that I'm really proud of and really love wearing and really love using, but also watching that stash start to disappear. That's been so lovely to have that. So yeah, I'm really pleased that I've sort of set myself that goal this year. I didn't want to set myself a really rigid goal of not being able to buy anything at all, you know. If I see a lovely fabric and I think, oh, I would really love to make a dress out of that, I might treat myself. But at the moment, I've got so much to get through that actually I'm getting a lot of satisfaction just slowly working on it. And I'm finding that it's helping me slow down in general as well, because instead of buying stuff and then panicking and wanting to like make stuff immediately, I'm really starting to take my time with my sewing. My knitting is pretty much the same because I always have quite a big proportion of my day is knitting time because I love knitting. But my sewing, I'm really slowing down. You know, I'm taking like 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks to make a dress, which I'm just really enjoying that process. So I've not set myself too many things to make over the next few months, but yeah, I think it's going to be a really lovely time of making. So yeah, let me know in the comments below if you're going to make any of these patterns. If you've got any ideas for my pink stripy bedsheet fabric, let me know. I'd also love to hear what your spring making plans are. Are there any new crafts that you're going to try like I am, or perhaps you've got a whole list of things that you're needing to add to your wardrobe? I'd love to hear in the comments below, so make sure you do leave me a comment. If you want to sort of see some of these makes and things in real time, pop on over to my Instagram at Rachel Bean, by Rachel Bean. It'll be on the bottom of the screen so that you can find me and see me wearing my makes in real life. And yeah, thanks so much for watching, guys. I will speak to you next time. Bye.